My card today is going to be called my Lucky Charms card because that is exactly what this reminds me of. I'm pulling out my favorite combination to make a rainbow blend and ink blending for my background. Hi everyone, I'm Mindy Eggen and welcome to my channel. First, I want to show you some of the products that I had originally planned on using for this card, which was the Fancy Lucky Die, the Lucky Sentiment Strips, Pony Love Stencil, and I thought I would use this friendship background stamp, but I didn't end up using it. Most of these products are brand new from the Simon Says stamp release, and there are a few other products that I wanted to show you, like this Lucky You word die, and also the Lucky You stamp set, which has a lot of fun sentiments on here. I do have a card I created that I'll show you at a later date that I think is just hilarious, and I can't wait to give it to my husband. Simon Says Stamp is also releasing some brand new products from their Rainbow Splash collection, and they have blender brushes. Of course, I had to dig these out and show you. I have one of each. There's one of the large and one of the mini blending brushes, and I did see on their website that they have a bunch of different sets that you can purchase these in. You know I am a huge fan of blending brushes, so these are really cute. They have their Rainbow Splash logo, and they are white handled. Another thing I had gotten is this pick tool. I don't know the exact name of it, but it's like an embellishment wand. So on one end is kind of this scoring piece, and then on the other end is a wax tip. I love using these. I have a few different ones. They all mainly do the same thing. They help me pick up my embellishments. And speaking of embellishments, I also received these 4 trays, these triangle trays from Simon Says Stamp. Great for holding your embellishments. And in the Rainbow Splash collection are some new embellishments. They come in these adorable little twist-off top containers. This one is called Sunbeam Dazzling Gems, and all of these are really dazzling. So you can see this is a nice bright kind of citrine yellow, great for adding to maybe the center of your flowers. And these trays come in handy because with the triangle point, you can just put those right back into your jar with no spilling of the gems. Now this one is called the Cool Tones Dazzling Gems, and it's just that. It has the cool tones in there, so some light and dark blues, some greens. Great variety if you have a cool toned background card. The next set that I have is the clear Dazzling Gems. Now these I didn't spill out into a tray just because you can really get a good view of it right from the jar. They are just clear, great for any card background because they are clear. They're going to match anything that you have. The next set that I wanted to show you is the Lucky Dazzling Gems. These are a very deep green, I would say almost like a shamrock or pine colored. You can really get a good look at that color when I tilt it into the light. So if you are into making St. Patrick's Day cards, those would be a great set. And then this is the Rainbow Dazzling Gems collection. And I know a lot of the pink and oranges are kind of facing up, but there is a rainbow mix, and I will be using these on my finished card project today. Now I can start working on my rainbow background, and for this I'll be using a rainbow assortment of colors from Simon Says Stamp, including a brand new yellow from the Trio 27 collection. 3 new yellows. I will be using Zest out of that collection. I'm actually going to be recreating a card that I created for Simon Says Stamp, and I sent it into their office, so I don't have it here and I hadn't filmed the video for it. So this is a recreation of it, but it's going to be almost the exact same thing. I started with a piece of smooth white cardstock, and the first color that I applied with a blending brush is Guava, one of my favorite colors to use when I am working on a rainbow using the Simon Says Stamp ink pads. The second color was Peachy. Now I'm bringing in this Zest, and I do really love having blending brushes that are colored to the ink that I'm going to use. It just really comes in handy. My next color is Sprout. This one, I only have one green handled blending brush out of the Simon Says Stamp collection, and I think I have a darker green on there. I didn't clean my brush off, so that green came out a little bit darker than I intended. My next color is Seafoam. I need to re-ink this one because I use it all the time. And then I have Lilac. Now Lilac, I'm going to add to the bottom there and blend into the blue. but I'm also going to turn my cardstock and add it just a little bit down towards the bottom. And it's going to give it a kind of a wild berry look. I really love lilac and guava together. Now I want to add my stencil over the top of the background. So I rolled up a piece of Post-it tape, placed it on the back of my ink blended panel so I could secure it down to my work surface. And then I'm using the Pony Love stencil and I taped it down to my work surface over my ink blended panel. I'm going to go back through all of the colors that I just used. So the lilac I'm doing at the top and the bottom, back again with the sea foam and sprout. And I'm trying to bring a little bit of that color into the next one. So for instance, I tried to bring sea foam into the sprout a little bit. Again, sprout, I'm trying to bring into that zest. So that overlap is really where the magic happens when you're doing your ink blending. And this background, once I had done it, it just reminded me of Lucky Charms, which was one of my favorite cereals growing up. And we can be honest, we pretty much ate it for all of the marshmallows, which that is how it reminded me, as it was like all of these hearts and the horseshoes marshmallows out of the Lucky Charms cereal. Then I'm going to add some white splatters to my background. So I have here a white glossy spray. I'm going to shake it up really good, and then I'm going to take the top off, and I'm using that top or the kind of bottom of the nozzle there to splatter the background with that white glossy spray. Now these sprays are not supposed to mix with the ink. A lot of times white inks can pick up the color behind it. This one I feel did a pretty good job with staying true to the white. I also brought in some gold watercolor that I diluted with water and splattered on the background as well. And then I'm going to dry all of those splatters with my heat tool. I have a piece of white cardstock cut to 5.5 by 8.5, and I put my score line at 4.25. I reinforce that fold with my bone folder to create a side folding card base. Then I'm adding my tape runner onto the top, and I can place my ink blended panel onto my card front. You can see at the very top there that I do have a little bit of white, so I was off on cutting my bases or my card front, one or the other. So I brought that over to my paper trimmer, and I'm just going to trim off that little sliver. So now that my panel is ready, my card base is set, I can work on my sentiment. And for that, I'm going to be using this Fancy Lucky. It is a word die and also a shadow layer. So I immediately knew I was going to use the shadow layer with some vellum. Lucky, I'm going to die cut out of this Spellbinders. It's like a glitter foam, a gold glitter foam. My original card, I used gold glitter cardstock, but since I kind of moved my craft room, I couldn't find my glitter cardstock. So I thought I would give this glitter foam a try. So I ran that through my die cut machine. The L is separate. It's not attached. I kind of panicked at first because I forgot that. And then I'm just carefully going to peel that out of my die. You do want to be careful kind of getting that out because it is pretty delicate. And the foam is pretty smashed down, but after you let it set, it is going to kind of puff back up and bring out that dimension. I also went ahead and die cut the shadow layer from Vellum, and then I die cut that Fancy Lucky from white cardstock. I think I did it 3 times. So I'm going to glue the word lucky together 2 times. This is going to go on the back of my vellum. So it is going to help kind of lift my sentiment off of the cardstock. And then for the foam piece, that gold foam glitter, I added that to a piece of white cardstock as well, just to kind of give it a little bit of stability. The glue that I'm using today is the Deluxe, what is this? Nouveau Deluxe. Gosh, I can't remember the full name of it. I used to use it all the time. Hadn't used it in a while. This one has a fine tip to it that I found very handy. So I've been using that lately to kind of use up my glue. I do set a heavy block on top of my letters to just let it sit for about 30 seconds or so and really let that glue adhere everything together. And then I can go ahead and add this to my vellum layer. Now for the backing piece, I'm going to add the glue to the front of the word lucky. I flip it over. I also flip over my vellum piece so that I can attach this to the back. And that's going to just give it some separation from my very busy and colorful background. After I attach my last letter here, I'm just going to make sure that there's no excess glue kind of seeping out of the edges, I usually will wipe that away with my fingernail or with my tweezers. And then I will again set something heavy on it, let that sit for about 30 seconds. And then I can bring in my card base, add that liquid glue to the back of the word lucky, and add this to the front of the card. So I'm going to go a little bit higher, just above the center of the card, just making sure that my margins are even on the right and left side. Again, I set something heavy on it, let it sit, and I'm going to look through my sentiments. These are off of the Lucky sentiment strips. My original card has a different sentiment on it. This one is going to say, lucky to know you. So I do have two different sentiments. It's essentially two different cards, but really the same message is getting across. And now I have another card created that I can give out to a friend. So I trimmed that down to a thin strip, and I'm going to layer a couple pieces of a white cardstock behind it again to add some dimension. And then I can place this kind of right in between the L and the Y. It just tucked in nicely there. One more additional thing that I did to this card, and not my original one, was I added the rainbow dazzling gems. I actually didn't have these dazzling gems at the time I made my first card, so I thought these were just kind of a fun, nice, sparkly touch to add to it. So that finishes off my Lucky Charms inspired card. I am really impressed with the gold glitter foam from Spellbinders, so I think I'm going to keep that out and use that again. I hope you enjoyed today's card project, and if you have these colors of ink, you will give this rainbow blend a try. I will have all of my supplies listed down below in the video description and over on my blog. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you again real soon.